All right. Things are a little bit interesting. Maybe if more interesting if I'm on camera. Okay, I can't see myself. I can't hear myself. Oh, this video might never make the net. Probably not. Probably one of those therapy videos, where you informally sit down and you write the letter to the partner and put all the things down that you want to express. And then you're meant to that one up and then actually write the mail again. And the reason we do that is that we get all the emotions out of the equation and we can communicate honestly. So I'd kind of like to do that. I'd like to communicate honestly. It'd be really good, be really super. If I'm just going to have to pretend for a second that I'm not recording, probably not meant to be. All right, let's pretend I'm drinking for a moment. There's a couple of people servicing the building. So I've got my phone here. I might get a phone call from work. That'd be good. I say work, I don't think I work there anymore. The stipulation today, before I turned up, was to bring a piece of paper that was going to cost me money to turn up with that piece of paper, given they barely pay me. I spent weeks arguing with the human resources regarding pay. And all my points of contact fall on deaf ears and get no response back. But their points of contact, I think they expect to have happen. And that's what happens when you're a peon. As a peon, you have no personal power. Your personal power, the sphere of influence that you have in the world is very limited. And so, probably not much I can do regards to not maybe having that line of work anymore. That's okay. So I got to use my phone. And I find that it's gone and deleted all my apps. Right? It hasn't deleted my video files, but the app I used to record this video had actually been removed from my phone. And a range of other apps. And I have no knowledge of any of this. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, look, who knows? This video is not really fit for the net. It's a video. And if you look at my last video, it's all about the perceptually attention deficit and the fact that everything in the world is pushing us to constantly fight with it, and therefore we're being trained to not trust in our normal causal life. I think the brains in the modern world, the rational or logistic brain is what we train in schools, and it's one of many spheres of intelligence, and so we cherish that one and we place it above all others, and therefore as a measure of your intelligence we often consider people who think in a certain way of thinking as that's the method. Now if we look at the world through the eyes of causal thinking, logic, A equals B equals C, rationale, then yeah, I would have to say I feel ADHD. I feel all my life I've nurtured a higher level of communication. I met some random strangers on the bus the other day, and they introduced themselves and said, "Oh yeah, we communicate like in the fourth dimension, fifth dimensionally, or something." And then of course I threw back regarding whale song and the tribes in Africa that use tones, and the fact that they've got several layers of conversation happening at once, and so therefore are able to communicate a lot more effectively. And as a teenager, I'd encourage that with my friends, that if we're in the process of expressing our ideas, but we're able to hear each other in the process of talking, that we shouldn't let the courtesy of trained conversation get in the way of getting the brainstorming to happen. And it was only fit for certain people, who were in a peaceful state of mind, generally my ADHD friends too. Oh dear. So here I am, potentially mildly stressed, and that's why I feel this is the video that should be I've come in to do my Saturday shift. Great shift. Probably get time and a half for the hours I work, and apparently it's a very long shift from 9 till 6 in the afternoon. So it would have been a really great day's wage. But having received an email 7 minutes prior to work start, demanding still after my correspondence saying I won't be bringing a medical certificate in, and I gave quite a long typed out email as to why that was, and that why I was experiencing what I was experiencing at the workplace when on the day when I was last in there and had to leave because our manager is from the tropics and we're not in the tropics here, and our shop was 5 degrees hotter than the temperature on the street most retail shops keep their temperatures at a particular temperature to be conducive for customer and for customers being casual and relaxed in the business. I mean, you regulate your customer flow with temperature. If you're a restaurant and you don't want customers to hang around long, you can use a particular temperature to them out the door. There's all sorts of things. I'm not making these rules up. The temperature of your retail space greatly affects the customer engagement. And so, being determined to improve the status of the workplace, I had actually brought in a fan from home. I found myself often turning the air cons on at work because they needed to be on, and the manager had been for months telling everybody that we're in the process of fixing them. It wasn't true at all. We had a warm day about a week ago, which was warm enough that they finally felt discomfort, again, being they were from the tropics, that they finally put a request to human resources or to management in that maybe we should get the aircon fixed. And that was the start of the process. The problem is I've been working there for quite a while at this point, reassuring all the customers that were coming through, going, oh, look, it's warm in here today, but just know that come the middle of summer, we'll have one of the coolest shops in town because we're a basement store and we're quite cool. Well, now I feel quite disingenuous with all the people I've communicated that with. I actually found out that nobody was attempting to get the aircon fixed. It'll probably be fixed in time for summer. Oh, we're in summer. No, November, spring. Don't know, don't care. I'm too fatigued. I don't sleep well. This business hasn't paid me my rent. No, I worked for a fortnight there and couldn't pay a fortnight's rent. It was pretty disappointing. It's probably about $6 an hour more than the award wage. It's not the funnest job to work. We get a lot of twitchy customers, fair bit of crime. Probably one of the harder retail jobs in the city that I live in to do, just because of our proximity to where all certain demographic of people hang out. Us being their first port of call to get their needs, to get on with their business. But I was willing to learn an industry that I wasn't trained up in this case, piercing was one of the services we offer. About 70% of our sales beyond the smoking supplies. Learning all sorts of gauges and stuff. Hey, willing to learn. Prior to that, I'd learnt to be a kitchen hand. Not dissing that. Prior to that, I'd learnt to be a car detailer. Prior to that, I was learning to be a cleaner. Prior to that, I was learning to be a security guard. It's the last couple of years of the jobs I've been doing, just jumping through all the sorts of jobs that you can always get. I've had call centre jobs too in that time frame. I think I was inbound call centre for the people who are unemployed. Oh my Lord. To say I've been jumping through all the jobs that most people generally don't want to do. Some of them I've drawn a line in the sand. I would do outbound sales in a call centre. I've been kicked off government benefits for turning down roles in outbound sales in a call centre because I was doing a job in security. Talk about stress, talk about therapy. This is what happens when you're the peon and everyone's squeezing you down. This is a story, right? You've probably got a similar story. So leave a comment in the thread. Just let's talk. But a couple of years ago as a security guard, I got that role because I'd gone into a job network provider and I'm genuinely wanting a job. And I saw my job network provider lady, Madison, being quite upset. She was quite emotional. We spent the first 2 minutes talking about why she was sad. She'd gotten a job for someone. They didn't turn up to their first shift. I can understand why she was, disappointed. Put a lot of effort into that. And after we'd consoled each other, or I'd chatted with her a little bit, and she was back to being upbeat and ready to address me for the appointment that we had. I said, Madison, it sounds like there's a job available. Why don't I apply for it? That was in the security industry. So I trained up to get my security license. She wouldn't approve me to finish my security license. There was one module that I needed to get, which was responsible service of alcohol, but the workplace I was going to work for was actually her father's business. Right? It should be highly illegal what was going on here. They were using all the benefits that they could use with me coded with the government as being unemployed to make sure that their business got the biggest kickbacks. And they actually said that they were the biggest employer of unemployed, that they were using any subsidy they could get. The boss, he's an ex-politician. He runs all the rings around the various circles. He's a Hasidic Jew, and he only draws $100, $150 from the business each week, which if you're giving money to Temple, that's, $15 or something. Doesn't have to give much to Temple. So, there's ways to work the system. Well, certainly he worked it for his employees, and after a couple of months of me working all the midnight shifts and all the premium hours as a security guard, kicking out homeless people with kids under their wing in the middle of winter, in the rain, after midnight, knowing that if anybody picks them up on the street, this person's probably likely to lose their kids. Yeah, I didn't really enjoy that role. But I did it, and as soon as any potential kickback from the government to them was all used up, I got no more shifts. I got a couple of hours a week in an afternoon, hoping I'd quit maybe, I don't know. And I didn't. So all of a sudden his daughter, right on me, yeah, they got me outbound sales in a call centre role where I'd have to volunteer for 3 days before they'd offer me a job. And I sort of said, well, actually, I've got paid work. I've got a shift tomorrow at the place you just got me a role for as a security guard. I think I'm going to turn up to that one if I can. And for whatever reason, I think they hung up on me. And they exited me from the system the next day for having not turned up to a job where I'd be volunteering for no money. And I went months without Centrelink there. I've many a time been at risk of losing my house and whatever else. But to say we the peons have no power, right? And that big organisations can just squish us down and do whatever and kick us around. Yeah, they can. Whether these unethical things happen. Nah. If you tell a sad story, everyone feels sad. That's not the purpose of my video today. I don't want it to be an informal counselling session with random people. I do want to express some of the difficulties that probably, not just myself is going through. I imagine the nature of business is it needs to tighten its belts, make more money. And one of the highest costs to any business is attrition of staff and staff turnover and training. And so, whilst we would think a business would be positive in looking after its staff, not all do. Some see a short-term profit, even if it means a disconnect with your customers because the staff are turning over constantly. Some would just take a short-term financial win as a victory. Case in point, my workplace in the interview, where I'm currently was working, I guess up until this morning, was they said, oh yeah, we pay weekly, right? That was the only positive thing they could say about the job in the interview. And when they said that, the pitch of their voice went up because it was a phone interview. I couldn't see the body language. But they said, oh, we pay weekly because you're entitled to your wages. You work hard for them. Because the pitch of their voice went up, and being a person who's fielded 50,000 plus phone calls in call centres, I'm highly sensitive to tone of voice. And I realised I was being lied to. I remember taking a mental note, thinking, oh, I look forward to finding out how that's going to be a lie. Well, it turns out, after 15 points of contact with the human resources officer, who refused to respond to me and refused to respond to my emails and refused to be contactable, and after a couple of weeks of not really getting my pay, that I understood what that one was about. The business I work for has 23 stores around the country, each with about 5 staff members. That's easily $100,000 to $150,000 in wages in a week. And if you can delay everybody's wages by a week or two, that gives you up to $300,000 to play the international money market or the stock market or whatever. And that might turn you a bit of profit, and that might allow you to employ 1 or 2 more people. So the unethical people, they think they're getting ahead. Now I'm going to compare and contrast this. Okay, my family, my great-great-grandfather, had 200 businesses at the time he passed. My uncle, still managing the legacy of my great-great-grandfather, when a recent world event hit and none of the workforce that he had employed of about 20 staff members, when he couldn't have them come into work, rather than put them on Centrelink benefits, he actually continued to pay them their wages at no cost, just running the money out of the business. That there is out of ethics. Right? He allowed the staff to continue living with dignity. And that's the problem for myself, is that if I'm in private rent and my landlord's 0 gears, and I've been paying for plumbers and whatnot just in order to keep my rent rates $200 below market rent, as I've been doing, when I cannot pay my rent because of an unethical or unscrupulous employer, it actually disadvantages me in my life. It actually now puts me into a rental market where nobody can rent. And I say this fully well knowing that my 60 years aged friend, who's lived in one apartment for more than 20 years, has held on to one job for more than 10 years, very quiet and solitude person, anally retentive, absolutely everything neat in his apartment, immaculate. and he's going to be exited. Why? Exited because if they kick him out, they can jack the rent up more than they can jack the rent up if they let him stay in the apartment and stick with the government mandated you can't raise the rent too much because it's currently a bit of a crisis. So for over 8 months, my friend has been turning up at inspections, looking for places. He's been willing to pay 50% more rent than he should have to pay. He's asking his father to assist him in order to hit that goal. Still hasn't been able to find a place. Right? I got a cat. I got a child. I don't want to be in the rental market looking for a place. It took me a year and a half to find the place I'm in now, and I knocked places back in the hunt for that place. I wanted to find a place next to a national park, right? I knew that 5G was coming on. I knew that everybody's Wi-Fi is ridiculously high. Everybody's got, wireless light bulbs and vacuum cleaners and fans and toothbrushes and everything else. And I'd been living in an apartment, had an edge block apartment, and I had one of the highest quality wireless mice on the market and less than a foot from the transmitter. The mouse wouldn't work, right? We were bathed in these frequencies. We had a 5G tower on the top of the building, 2 floors above us, directly above us. And every morning at 6:02, when they had to ramp the power up, because we're on a corner of a couple of highways and everybody in their cars needed to get their YouTube or their Netflix, everyone in the house would sit bolt upright, right? We could feel the power running through us. We'd come in from the country where we weren't bathed in this stuff every minute of the day, but we could feel it. We're 3 years into the rollout in Australia of 5G. Our adoption of phone technology is very, very fast. In fact, our adoption of phone technology across all age brackets, very different to the rest of the world, is we're a high consumption country for everyone having a mobile phone and having data plans with lots of data to be used. What's all unlimited data nowadays. And it is affecting us. So over most phone contracts, which is when people get a free phone or a phone up front, last over 2 to 3 years. So from the time that the 5G networks first started switching on, we were due, I predicted at that time about 2 years before the phone towers would have to start ramping the 5G network bandwidth up more permanently. And as of this last week, the latest Google Pixel 8 has come out, which means anybody waiting to hold off on a phone plan update, and now it's been more than 3 years, it means the whole town's adopted 5G phones, which means by default 5G mode is on, and we're all bathed in it. Nobody's getting a good night's sleep. And I guarantee you we're not getting a good night's sleep. That's the problem. This is the concept of non-ionising radiation that the phones put out, not hurting us, is based on some very loose studies, one of which, the big one, which everyone really likes to quote, was back in the 80s. It was about 5 years after declassified documents now, but classified documents existed with the military and the governments around the world that knew that these frequencies could be used to wear people down, if you will. A bit like coating our pineal glands, if you like, with fluoride, is it? And things like that. Is it calcification? So in 81, when they did the study, they spent more money on genome perfect mice than they did on the actual study. And of these mice that had been caesarean sectioned from their parents, so they were basically impervious to any sickness, was the theory. They were all riddled with cancer, but because it wasn't the intention of the study, it wasn't put in the outcome. The study was a lot of pages. And for someone like myself who's actually willing to read through it, the writing was all there. But nobody looks at that. Everyone looks at the conclusion. The conclusion, because it wasn't the point of the study, didn't refer to a lot of the findings that were actually quite important. But the thing is that usage habits of these technologies have changed. Right? Back in the early 80s, the way we used phones was supplemental. All the best recommendations for data use around the world say that wireless technology should be supplemental. In my country, everyone's got copper to their households, and I've got fibre to the premises. But it's so much cheaper to run a wireless network into your house, and the infrastructure is, cheap for people to put up, arguably, that there's reasons why businesses are all loading onto that, rather than, for whatever reason, us using the wired networks like we should be using, and then wireless for supplemental data. The update of emails when we're out in a field or something. But no, we're all streaming 4K footage in our houses, usually through a wireless router, but not a wireless router that's just wireless in the house, but I mean 4G or 5G telephony connecting to 3 mobile phone towers up to 10 kilometres away, and moving high bandwidth amounts of data, which was not what we were doing in the 80s or any other time that there's a study that's looked into non-ionising radiation. Now, the nature of all those studies was that non-ionising radiation really doesn't cling to us. If we can earth out, if we can walk around barefooted or we can get a good night's sleep, we generally will heal. The problem is now we're bathed in this stuff all night long. We don't get the cellular rest states that we need to have. There was an excitation state in our cellular level that particularly our subtle systems, our subtle energy systems, a subtle energy body is aware of. In a normal world, we had about 3 excitations in a 24-hour period, but now we've got, over the course of a minute, basically what's going to lead to burnout of everybody. And that's why I make these informal videos about why are we ADHD? Why is it with none of us getting a good night's sleep? Because we're all microwaving ourselves off the planet, and yes we are. Right? The meek shall inherit the earth, yes, because they will not have adopted 5th generation phone telephony, 5G. I'll give you a case in point. Right? My government needs to be petitioned, right? Because the train drivers that drive the trains all day long, they're just bathing in this stuff. They don't get any relief. They don't get any chance to not be surrounded in these high density fields, right? We need to make the first carriage of our trains RF free, radio frequency free. Right? No Bluetooth, maybe Bluetooth, but not Wi-Fi, right? And because we can't really police this, we're just going to make these first carriages like just basically free of turned on electronics almost. Because what happens in a train when it hits 80 kilometres an hour is that our phones have a hard time connecting to the towers, and so they ramp their power up, right? They go to full power to the antenna. The problem is we're not just trying to stay connected to the network in case a phone call comes in. We're all trying to stream 4K television. We're all trying to stream Netflix and everything else. And because of that, we're totally loaded. The networks are at capacity. Our phones are at full power. Everything's going through. And on the trains, nobody wants to make eye contact. So you're shoulder to shoulder with all these people around you on their phones, moving high-speed data in a metal carriage, right? Having a hard time communicating with the towers. Once they go above 80 kilometres an hour, or worse, once they enter a tunnel, which is every city in the world if your train network's underground, right, all of a sudden, everybody's phones have to go to full power, right? Now, it's around those moments that I get physically nauseous. I cannot ride on public transport during peak hours anymore. Now, I might be sensitive to this stuff. I agree. But like I say to all my friends and family, if they're allergic to a substance or something, I say it's actually a benefit. Because your body is communicating to you. It's sensitive enough to tell you that this is something that's important or matters. I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill here. I do believe that technology is wonderful if used for the right reasons. The problem is the technology is not used for the right reasons because of business. Business has to be unethical in the way it gets its money. The pushback every time the European Union says, hey, you can't send that data, is these software companies just skirt around the law enough to say, well, okay, if we send out 7 times more data to a range of locations, we can triangulate, we can figure out all the same information about a user anyway. But it just requires we send more data over the internet. And every single company on the planet has loaded up to our data it's our cost, not their cost, that they can use unlimited amounts of it. And therefore, all of our products are not working for us. They are working against us. Case in point, when I wanted to do this recording, the software, the one bit of software I've installed on this phone I want to use was uninstalled and not by me. Why? Because they probably wanted to run out security updates that are going to cripple the speed of my phone and basically force me forward, because my phone is now 3 years old. Right? If I was in an Apple ecosystem, they wouldn't have to. Right? They own the software, they own the platform, they make money no matter what, and they don't have to force you forward. But if you are in the ecosystem of anybody else who doesn't own all the elements or all the points of the triangle, right? If you're a chip maker in an Android phone and you only get money when a new phone is sold, right? You need, through security updates, to have your aspects of your product deprecated so that a new product being sold is attractive. Anyway, it's a rant and rave. I probably need some sugar. I probably need to get on with my day. I've got antsy security guards walking around in this beautiful foyer, obviously wondering, what am I doing in here? So I'm going to respect their concerns. I am an empathetic being. I never want to cause anybody stress. Big businesses are causing you a mild amount of stress. Work with me. I'm a Chinese fire dragon. I can come up with great ideas for you to make you money. And believe it or not, consumers are all ready to engage with ethical businesses, right? We all want to believe we are working pro-planet. We're not really pro-planet, pro-family, which basically means we have to be pro-planet. But until you've got a family, it's not really your concern, right? So, yeah, don't just be a consumer. Be a conscientious consumer. Okay, I tell you what, if I'm employed doing this, getting paid nothing, it's actually better work hours, better conditions than being paid nothing to work for other mobs. So, well wishes with you. To be continued.